The world is increasingly urban. A recent UN report estimates that by 2050, 68% of the world's population will live in urban areas. That's 6.6 billion people, and we want them all to be safe, happy, prosperous, and to live in thriving, caring communities. As a species, the most complex challenges we face are increasingly urban challenges. If we want a bright future for ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren, the future of cities must start right now.
I'm an old guy, and I've watched cities dug up and rebuilt. I've watched my community rip up rail tracks and then lay them back down in exactly the same place as they once removed rail transit as outdated and then put it back in as the latest thing. Caution, ladies and gentlemen. We face the future with caution and humility and an aggressive commitment to innovation. That's our challenge.
There's 3,500 municipalities in Canada. Only 50 of them have populations over 100,000. So that's, a big chunk of municipalities that are not the massive sort of Blade Runner-esque sort of city that you might be thinking about when you hear the word urbanization.
And what's super important is the thoughtful application of technology to problems that cities have and are struggling with and want to achieve. I mean, every smart community wants to optimize their operational efficiency. They want to improve economic development. They want to meet their environmental objectives and overall improving the quality of life for all of their citizens. And often it's tempting to try and solve every problem with one single platform that integrates every single data set across multiple different, silos within the city. But what you end up with there is just a lot of complexity, and you really risk letting best be the enemy of good enough.
Make sure that what you're trying to do is actually a goal that aligns with civic objectives, and any municipality wants to work with private providers who take the time to understand what we're trying to do. In Halifax, we don't just want to be a bigger city, we want to be a better city. We want to be a city where there's more societal equity, where we're actually moving the ball on climate change, when we're supporting both immigrants and also the other groups that have traditionally been underrepresented in the success of the city. And we need to identify the issue.
One of the suggestions I'd like to make is, if you're working with you're trying to solve problems, and someone mentioned it earlier, right? Solving real problems. Like don't just build solutions and take them to the market. It's so important to meet with people and figure out and understand what the real problems are before we start solutioning things. And when doing that, the probably the best experience that I've had in working in the municipal space is co-creation, right? So we're not just municipalities love to share solutions. It's not like the private sector where they want to hoard their kind of intellectual property. If they solve a problem, they are very happy to share that with many. So bring them in. I bring them in early, bring multiple of them together. Let's talk about the problem. Let's understand the problem and co-create that solution together.
Technology needs to work within an ecosystem. It's something that Dan mentioned as well. Tech companies, should not be building proprietary data formats that do not work well within a broader ecosystem. We need information to flow in and out of your products. And that data is a public good when it's interacting with city data, correct? So as a currency, it needs to be able to be interoperable. And we need companies to understand the rules in which city also operates, right? So we need to be able to report on things, share information, especially when that data or those technology products are inhabiting public space.
What makes a city smart is, governments and businesses have really told us that during this period of uncertainty, IoT has really been lighting the road ahead. It's been keeping them going even when the world was paused. It was keeping people, services and goods connected, even when we've been physically apart. IoT users are reaping the rewards in various sectors like health, energy, manufacturing, and agriculture. Organizations moving into automation are showing significant boosts in revenue and efficiency. Governments and businesses are building their resilience. We're learning to adapt in this new environment, to evolve, and to meet citizens' needs in new ways. But we should always keep in mind that collected communities and connected cities really start with people.
We want to use data to improve citizens' quality of life, never to place it at risk, while strongly protecting their privacy and earning their trust. As I said, all of these have to go hand in hand. But with nonstop sensors and emerging technologies, citizens' privacy could be in danger, as there will be no opportunities for individuals to consent or revoke consent to the collection of their personal information. It will be automatic. And that's one of the problems with IoT, for example, Internet of Things, which is running out the door with very little concern for privacy at the outset. And that's what we have to switch, and that's what Innovate Cities hopes to do.
Well, I end up telling our clients all the time that you cannot have a collaborative, successful initiative with a public official unless you understand their culture. And government does move smoother, slower, more thoughtful. And it's because they're using taxpayer dollars, and they are trained to move slower and more cautiously. Industry, on the other hand, those people are trained to move quickly, make decisions quickly. If you make a mistake, it's okay, we'll recover and go forward. And it's just a completely different culture. I've written a book about that, about to interact collaboratively successfully, we have to understand each other.
Ultimately, we try to get a lot of the slower moving pieces out of the way in the procurement and contracting process. And then it's just checking in weekly and being very transparent. I think a lot of times there's frustration when you don't understand why things aren't moving very fast. And so I work really hard to clearly explain to our partners, this is the holdup, we're working through it, we're doing it as fast as we can, and we'll just continue to move this forward. It's ultimately something as simple as just being very communicative and transparent.
One of the things that we started, it feels like forever ago, but it was 2016, we started a civic accelerator, and we did that with, so our partner in that was the University of Guelph, and we started a thing called Guelph Labs. And that was our first problem that we tackled, was how do we look at procurement? And how do we make it so that it's not just these large companies that can respond to RFPs that can do business with the city, but how do we get our local startups? How do we get people who don't have the staff to respond to an RFP and get a presentation deck together? How do we get them into the procurement mix?
You don't know what you don't know. And so for many agencies, we are very accustomed to our line of business. We know it in and out. But how do you deploy something new in that mix that you really don't understand yourself? And so the benefit of those innovation proposal programs for the private sector is it gives you a roadmap into how to work with these governmental agencies in particular. And it also helps the governmental agencies really get a better understanding of the technology.
The real city is humanity, not the structures that surround them. And so in many ways, the future of cities is the future of humanity. Right now, cities are beset by a dizzying array of very complex challenges. As if this wasn't enough, municipalities encounter many formidable barriers to innovation. It sounds overwhelming, but I'm here to tell you that it's not. Canadian innovation is equal to all this and more. We can have cities that allow the free and frictionless movement of people, goods, ideas, and dreams, in which communities are connected, equal, and prosperous, and in which everyone has access to the lives and futures they deserve, for themselves and for their families. The way to that future is together, in the realization that the future of cities must start now.